Ain't gonna do it. So we've got some leaky fuel lines, a broken primer bulb, and it'll run until it bogs down under a load. So we're gonna go ahead, take this carburetor apart, maybe change the fuel lines, and make it great again. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. I hope everybody's having a great week. It is tiller time, and we are going to start out with the smallest, most awesome tiller ever made, the Mantis. Now I'm talking about 20, 15 years old Mantis tillers, not the new ones that come out today. A lot of times they're making those 4 cycles. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these bad boys that were made to last forever. They made the pistons and cylinders extremely tough to where I rarely ever see one burnt up. And most of the time it's just a fuel related issue, and that's what's wrong with mine. Now, I might work on 2 cycles every day, but it doesn't mean that I, take care of them like I should. I'm just like everybody else. I use my tiller 1 time a year, and then it doesn't see the light of day for an entire pretty much 12 months. So today we are going to get on my tiller. We're going to probably change the primer bulb out, the fuel lines, maybe the grommet. I'm not sure if it was leaking or not, and definitely go into the carburetor because it's starting and dying, so, and not wanting to rev up with a load. So, and smoking a whole bunch. Don't know what that's about. That might just be residual oil in the muffler. Not sure yet, but let's see if we can get this bad boy running again. But before we jump into today's video, if you're a fan of saving time, money, and frustration while fixing your own small engine equipment while watching in-depth tutorials, you've come to the right place because that's what I do. I upload a couple times a week, and if that sounds interesting, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. I love to read through the comments, and I will reply to all the early commenters. Now, a lot of you might not know this, but I am a huge gardener. I love to garden, and you will see a lot of that I want to share with you in the next few months. Right now, there's nothing out there. It's time to till, and I need to get this Mantis going. Now, normally I would probably mess with the choke a little bit because what has happened from it sitting for this long period of time, the diaphragm in the carburetor is probably hardened, which is letting too much fuel go through, which is flooding out the carburetor and into the cylinder and flooding the machine out. So I'm going to make sure, but the primer bulb's also messed up, so we need to, get the primer bulb fixed, change the fuel lines out, and hopefully we can get it going again. Now, normally if the primer bulb was not messed up and the fuel lines were not leaking, I would go ahead and just keep messing with the choke until I get that diaphragm loosened up again, and it will probably go because these were really well built and the type of carburetor that's in it was a really good one. So I'm definitely going to fix this thing. Now, if you're wanting something that's comparable today to buy, the Echo is actually the most comparable when it comes to the gearbox, the design, the handle system. It is still 2-cycle. The new Mantis, you might be able to get it in a 2-cycle. I'm not sure, but the ones I've been seeing come into the shop have been 4-cycle, and I'm not as happy with those engines. Also, sometimes there's carburetors on them that you cannot adjust, which is not cool. So let's start tearing this one apart. Now, the most awesome thing about working on a Mantis tiller, it's literally 1 air filter cover to remove, 2 bolts holding the carburetor on, and you're seeing everything. It's right there. So super simple to work on. You do have to watch around this choke lever because it likes to get stuck on there. That air filter, that thing's nasty. You can totally tell it's been flooding out. This whole side down here is oily residue from getting too much fuel. And we're going to remove these 2 bolts holding the carburetor on. Once you've got your air filter base off, the throttle cable will just come right out of this little groove on the carburetor. Yeah, my fuel lines are really hard. Don't lose your mounting gasket, and if you don't have another one, usually they're still fine and they can be reused. Next, I'm going to just crack the gas cap. That way, when I take this off, it won't spooge any fuel out of the lines from the pressure. Now we got our carburetor off. Super simple. Now, if this is your machine, you pretty much knew that it was running fine at the last time that you used it, and that it's just not running right now because it did sit for probably a year. And the majority of the time, you're not really worried about spark. We know mine has spark because it did start up, and you're not really worried about compression. But at this point, while you have the carburetor off, you will want to look inside the hole where the carburetor mounts to and see the inside of the cylinder and the piston side and make sure that there's no up and down scoring, just to make sure that you're not doing all this effort on a burned up machine. All right, so I'm positive I have a pinhole in here, but I'm going to show you as I turn it this way and I squeeze it, you can see all that gas just scooch right out that hole in the center of the primer bulb, so it's definitely bad. A lot of people come in wanting primer bulbs because they would push theirs in and it would get stuck and they think that it's the primer bulb issue, and it's never the issue. If your primer bulb doesn't have a hole in it, it's still good. If it's not wanting to return back out, that's because there's something farther down the line that's wrong. Either the diaphragms aren't letting anything come through, or you have a problem with your fuel line or fuel filter. So this particular unit had a Zama carburetor on it. Some of them will have Walbros, but it doesn't matter. The principle is still the same about how we're going to be putting our parts back together. So it should be still easy. We're going to take our 4 screws off our metering diaphragm side. Oh yeah, and it's hard. Definitely an issue. We're going to remove the screw that's holding in our needle and needle valve. Next, we're going to remove the 2 screws on the other side of the carburetor. Oh, that's not good. Let's show you. Look at all the gooky inside that screen right there. Right here you have a screen that filters everything going through, and it is completely clogged and definitely not letting enough fuel go through. So we know we gotta get this cleaned up and that changed out. I'm also going to take the high and the low jet out. Now you can tell which one's which. There's an H by the high and probably an L somewhere on the low side, and make sure that whenever you set them down that you know which way they go, which one's your low needle and which one's your high needle. Now these ones are marked with a white and a red, but a lot of times they're not like that, so you will need to know which one it is, and sometimes the low is a lot longer than the high, so you can tell that way also. But just in case they're the same on some carburetors, make sure you know which one's which. Now we're going to want to go ahead and give this a really good spray. We're going to want to get this all cleaned up. Luckily, we don't have any of our gaskets that melted to the carburetor or this plate here. So I have a little bit of stuff right here I might want to scratch off. But other than that, we're going to put some carburetor cleaner down through the needle hole, in through this fuel inlet. We're gonna spray it out really good. We're also removing this screen, gonna spray in there really good, and get this all cleaned up and put back together. And make sure to go down your high and low jet holes, and don't ever use real compressed air. I mean, the compression from your carburetor cleaner is about the max that you want to ever put through these carburetors, because there are small in some carburetors, there are small little check valves and springs and little tiny diaphragms inside the carburetor that you can blow out if you use compressed air. So never use compressed air from your tank in one of these carburetors. All right, now that we've got everything cleaned up, for this particular Zama carburetor, I am using an RB29. Now there will be more pieces in this kit than you're actually going to use because it is made for more than one carburetor. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and that screen that I took out, I'm gonna put the new one in this hole right here. And these ones are sort of simple. Once you just get it sort of set on there, you can just push it on down. You wanna make sure that you're pushing it in evenly on all sides. And that's good, just that it's flush and not, you know, sticking out. On this side of the carburetor, it's real simple whenever you're putting one of these kits together. Just remember that the gasket always goes against the ribbed side of this plate, not the diaphragm. So we're going to put our gasket first on this plate, then we're going to put the diaphragm just like that. You might need to push this over just a little bit so it's not in the way. Set it on down and replace your 2 screws. All right, on the other side, we're going to put our new needle in. We're going to grab our lever, put our little lever rod through it. We're going to set our spring in its little hole. And this might take you a couple tries because all the parts are super tiny, but you'll get it. Have that sitting right there straight up. All right, so I'm gonna come down on the spring and I'm just gonna swoop under the needle while I'm pressing down on that spring. So I'm coming down Grabbing the needle, pushing it all down flat. You want to make sure that the spring didn't pooch out the side, that it's actually still underneath that little divot right there, and we can return our screw. Now, 99% of the time when I put one of these in, they are set at the perfect level. They come that way. You might want to check it though. When you're looking at it, you'll want to make sure this lever right here is exactly flush with the rim of the carburetor. So it's sort of hard to see here, but it's usually already in its perfect position. So next we're going to put on this side, the gasket goes against the carburetor. Now it has a little hole here, so you're going to want to make sure that hole lines up with this one outside. This can get tricky on some carburetors on which way to put this. On this one, it goes this way. And you can see there's a hole right there that lines up with that gasket hole. And then it's the same right here. This is what might get tricky. That's the hole on this side. There's another channel right here, but that's not where it goes. It goes to this hole on this side because we remember both of our fuel lines were attached on the same side, so we know that this plate is going to go this way. So we'll set that on top. We're going to get us a new primer bulb. I'm going to put the new primer bulb inside its plate. Squish it on down, and then we can put our screws back in. Now, my machine is very old and has been worked on many times. The carburetor limiter caps have already been broken off to where I can adjust it freely. Make sure to put your low needle back by the L, which is going to be the closest to the cylinder block. The low needle always is closest to the cylinder block. So we're going to screw that in until it's lightly seated, and our high. I went ahead and just got that limiter cap out of the way. All right, both of them are seated, but I have not wrenched down on them. Now on some of these older units, I can look up the carburetor adjustments, but just from knowing, I'm gonna go ahead and set my low at about 1.5 full turns out. And I'm gonna go with 1 full turn on my high, and then we're gonna adjust from there. Now, when you're changing your fuel line out, it always gets confusing on what size you need because there's actually multiple sizes of fuel lines. So if you're changing one of these out, and the majority of all trimmers take this same size fuel line, it's actually 3/16 inside diameter and 4.8 millimeter outside diameter. Just go to your local repair shop and get a foot or two of this, and that'll get you going. So these units have a 3-line system. One is your tank vent, one is your return line, and one goes to your fuel filter. So I'm going to remove these lines. I'm still going to leave the grommet in there because my grommet's still good. You can actually buy a kit, like at my shop I sell one that comes with all the fuel lines, fuel filter, tank vent, and grommet, and you can go that route if you do need to change everything. But I'm still going to be using my tank vent and my grommet. I'm going to put a new fuel filter and fuel lines on, so I'm going to get these old lines out because they are hard as a rock. To know how long you need to make your fuel lines, just line them up next to the old fuel line and cut it to that length. I'm going to start out with my fuel filter line. I'm going to cut the end sideways just a smidge so it's easier to actually get through the hole. And we're just going to stick it on through, and it pushes in pretty easy. Once you have it in, we're going to pull it back out of our gas cap hole. Snip that little end off and put our new fuel filter on. Once again, I cannot stress how much easier it is if you can actually stretch out your fuel line before you put it on any of the nipples. So I'm just going to keep pushing it down in, stretching it out a little bit, twisting it, stretching a little bit. Once we get it like that, I'm going to pull it out, and immediately goes right on the fuel filter very easily every time, and it'll, go right back in shape. So always stretch it out. Set that inside. We're going to cut sideways a little again. We're going to stick it in. We're just stubbing these two in because one is a return and one's a vent, and they do not need to go in too far. So we're going to put our tank vent on one. Once again, you want to stretch it out. Stretch, stretch. This is the easiest way to get fuel line on anything. So All right, we've got our tank vent back on, and it's gonna go up in this little cubby hole right there. Now we've got our return, we've got our fuel filter line. Let's get our carburetor back on. All right, once again, we are going to want to stretch out our fuel lines to get them back on our carburetor fuel inlets. This is the one going to the fuel filter, so it goes farthest away from the primer bulb. Just like that. We have our return line, which will return the fuel back from the primer bulb into the tank. We're going to stretch it out. Now that we're at this point, we can put our carburetor mounting gasket back on there. We're just going to set it right here, line it up, hold on to it while we put our air filter base back on. Get it on down there all lined up and tighten up our carburetor. All right, we are done. We got her all put back together. We're gonna take her outside, start her up, see if she needs an adjustment, and hopefully I can get this bed tilled up. All right, let's see if what we did got her going. We're turned on, primed up, choke. Awesome. She runs great and doesn't even need an adjustment. So those are pretty much like factory adjustments right there, and she's right back where she needs to be. So thanks again for tuning into Chickanic. Hopefully this video saved you time, money, and frustration in the future. If you haven't found us on Facebook yet, find us at facebook.com/Chickanic. Find us on Instagram at TheRealChickanic, or check out Chickanic.com where you can get your own Chickanic t-shirts, hoodies, and long sleeve shirts. Thanks, and have a great day.